Hello, everybody. My name is Ragnon, and this is my guide for Protection Paladin in Season 4 of Shadowlands for Raid. So, why would you want to play Protection Paladin in Raid? Well, historically, throughout the expansion, Protection Paladin has been brought for its very high damage, and not just high damage, but a high healing as well. Mainly for Ashen Hollow, while you're in Ashen, you can expect to do very high amounts of damage and healing across the raid and stuff, which is very nice for specific damage checks or different profiles on the boss, or just killing the boss faster in general, which is very nice. Protection Paladin also has a lot of utility that it brings to a group. Some mechanics are completely cheesable with Blessing of Spell Warding. Also, you bring an immunity to a group, which can be used to cheese certain tank mechanics. And Blessing of Sacrifice, Lay on Hands, your potential off healing with Word of Glory, especially with all of the extra holy power that we have now. Currently in Shadowlands, so we can maintain 100% uptime on Shield of the Righteous, and then also be able to check out some Words of Glory for fun to help out the group. So let's talk about the talents first of all. So your talents for Raid, they are different from Mythic Plus. You want to run Holy Shield still because of the increased block chance. It has such good synergy with the 4 set, which we'll talk about later. You want to go ahead and run Crusader's Judgment. The extra Judgment charge is very helpful. It's going to be helpful for your generation of Holy Power, and also Judgment will likely be your highest damage on a given fight. It hits a lot. It hits pretty hard. This row doesn't really matter. It's fight dependent. I just run Blinding Light because that's what I run in Mythic Plus, and I'm lazy and I don't change it out. This row is it does have some flexibility. Spell warding is a good default pick because there's lots of fights that bringing spell warding to allows you to cheese certain mechanics or help somebody with survival on some kind of magic damage hit. But if a fight doesn't require spell warding, if you know for a fact that you're not going to need it, then you can go ahead and either run Cavalier for the increased mobility or Unbreakable Spirit, which is going to reduce the cooldown on your bubble. Also, your main defensive, Ardent Defender, and Lay on Hands. So you can maybe get 2 uses of it in a fight if it's a longer than 7-minute fight, but likely you're still going to only get 1 use. On the 40 row, you're going to use Seraphim. Seraphim is going to increase your damage by quite a bit. Costs 3 holy power, and it gives you 8% of every secondary stat, which is very nice. And so that in combination with Wings and Ashen, you're going to get the most value from stacking those combos all together. You could maybe run Divine Purpose. It's going to have a good amount of throughput throughout the encounter, but Seraphim has a bit more synergy with the fact that most of your damage comes from lining up those 3 things together: Ashen Hollow, Wings, and Seraphim. So Judgment of Light puts a passive debuff on the boss, and it makes it so that every time somebody in your raid attacks it, they get healed. So this is actually going to account for a large amount of your healing throughout an encounter, which is very nice. You could possibly run Hand of the Protector, which is going to make it so that you do bigger snipe heals with Word of Glories on other targets and stuff. That's an option. Takes a little bit more presence of mind. You play a little bit more like a healer. It's an option. Judgment is easy though, and it lets you focus on everything else that's going on in a boss encounter, and lets you make sure that you're keeping up Shield of the Righteous and you're not accidentally, Word of Glorying somebody, and then suddenly you don't have enough for a Shield of the Righteous, and you just get one shot. So, and then finally, you want Righteous Protector. It's going to be more uptime on Wings and Guardian of Ancient Kings by having shorter cooldowns on them, which is very nice. You could, if a fight demands it, you could maybe use Final Stand. There's not really any fights that I can think of that would not be doable with just a bubble, like a regular bubble taunt. Yeah, you just bubble and then you cast taunt and then you hold threat for 3 seconds. I don't know. As an option. There's probably some that I don't know about. Your Conduits and Soulbind. So you are going to be Venthyr. There are some people that run Night Fae just to buff up like a DPS or something like that, but the vast majority of raid paladins are using Vinthyr because of the strength of Ashen Hollow and what that brings for your damage. You're going to want to go ahead and run Theotar. This is your talent setup, or your conduit setup, excuse me. So you're running a Resolute Defender that's going to extend the duration of your Shield of the Righteous, which is very nice. Also reduces the cooldown for every Shield of the Righteous that you can cast. I'm sorry, I think I said that wrong. It extends and reduces the cooldown on Ardent Defender, which is your main defensive cooldown, by casting Shield of the Righteous. This is your Covenant Conduit. It's going to make it so that your Ashen Hollow strikes an extra ally, strikes an extra enemy, and also heals an extra ally. It just gets extra benefit. Doesn't matter which one you do here. I do this just because it gives some random junk sometimes. It doesn't really matter. Golden Path, this is going to just passively heal you while you're standing in your consecration, which you're going to be doing anyways, so it's just nice extra benefit. Here you do have an option. I've seen builds that use both. So I'm going down this way. Lights Barding, it increases your duration on Divine Steed, so you get double length on your horsey. And then this is really nice, Wasteland Propriety. So this makes it so that when you're in your Ashen Hollow, you're getting extra versatility, and you're also granting extra verse to up to 4 allies. And that lasts for 40 seconds, which is the full duration of Ashen Hollow, I believe. So, very nice. 45 seconds. Okay, almost the full duration. You could optionally go this way. This is going to give you an extra potency, so you'll have 3 potencies, and that makes it so that your Avenger's Shield increases the amount of holy damage that you deal to your target. And you also get a nice little absorb every now and then. I don't know, the verse is pretty nice, so either one can work. For this potency here, you're going to use Shield of the Righteous, deals more damage. It's the name of the conduit is Punish the Guilty. So it pairs with your Judgment, so you judgment them, and then your Shield of the Righteous deals even more damage. Shielding Words, this makes it so that when you cast Word of Glory on either you or somebody else, it gives you a shield that prevents. It's a nice absorb shield. And then finally, Party Favors, that allows you to use an item called Theotar's the Mad Duke's Tea. And so this, if you use it, it's going to give you a buff, a random buff of 3% to whatever secondary stat, or possibly strength, and it will last for 4 hours. It's on a 1 hour cooldown, so if you don't like what you can get, you can re-roll it after an hour. So I got lucky, I got haste. Pretty much anything but crit can be pretty good. So that's your conduit setup and your soulbind. We've talked about talents. Let's talk about gear real fast. So you want to make sure that you have your 4 set. And then your legendaries, you're going to use Unity, which is going to give you the Covenant ability Radiant Embers. That makes it so that your Ashen Hollow's duration is increased by 50%. That's going to make it last even longer, up to that 45-second duration, which is really nice. And then also it's going to make it so that you can possibly cancel your Ashen Hollow, and that will reduce its cooldown. So there's probably some cool uses for that. I've just been keeping it up for the full time, but there's probably some optimization where you can cancel it early so that you get it at a specific moment later in a fight. Or worst case scenario, if you accidentally push G twice and you cancel it, it's not the absolute end of the world. You'll still get it back fairly soon. It won't be the full 4-minute cooldown, but that always does feel bad. And then I'm running the wrong gear set here. Your other Covenant, your other legendary is going to be the Mad Paragon, and that's going to make it so that your Hammer of Wrath deals extra damage and extends your wings. You want your wings up for as long as possible during Ashen Hollow so you can get the most benefit. All right, so that is your legendaries. We'll come back to trinkets and stuff at the end. So let's talk about rotation a bit. So when you start your pull, you're going to want to go ahead and pre-cast Ashen Hollow. I usually try to do it about, right after 2 seconds left on the countdown. So you go ahead and pre-cast your Ashen Hollow, and then Wings. And then you want your first 3 holy power to be spent on Seraphim, so that you can get that damage boost as early as possible so that you can have it up for the majority of wings. Um, Typically, in those first couple hits, it can hurt a little bit, so I've actually been using Ardent Defender. It's up to you. It depends on how your defensives are going to be used for that fight, but I pair it that way anyways because it's nice to have it extended by wings anyways. After that, then you're going to go into your default rotation of spending just about any ability that you have up to generate Holy Power, and then spending it on Shield of the Righteous, and then any free casts of Word of Glory, you can use that on yourself or on a raid member. Your priority is a little bit different than in Mythic Plus. Judgment gets a little higher up on the totem pole because it deals a lot of single target damage. Avenger's Shield is much lower on the totem pole because it's not quite as important for single target. It's much more of an AoE ability, which makes it great for Mythic Plus, but not super duper important for raid. You definitely want to prioritize Hammer of Wrath as your number one priority anytime it's up, because that's going to extend the duration of your wings, and it just deals a lot of damage. So you want your wings up for as long as possible during Ashen Hollow. So an opening might look something like this. So I'm going to go ahead and cast Ashen Hollow and Taunt. Get wings. My first 3 holy power I'm going to spend on Seraphim. Ardent Defender, I forgot to use that, but I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, I forgot to throw it on Consecration. You always want to be standing in Consecration. Sorry about that. And you just keep using your abilities anytime they're up, and spending it on Shield of the Righteous, using Hammer of Wrath as many times as you can to extend your wings. And you keep going until Ashen Hollow is done. Still going. Just going. And I'm just going to go ahead and cancel it here. In that example, I was not doing a very good job of maintaining Consecration. You want 2 things at all times. You want to have Shield of the Righteous active, because that's your primary mitigation, and you also want to be standing in Consecration. Your Mastery makes it so that your Consecration is a pretty big damage reduction, sometimes up to almost 11%, depending on your Mastery and stuff. It also increases your block chance. Consecration doesn't. Mastery increases also your block chance and your attack power, but the big thing is your damage reduction while you're in Consecration. So that's the gist of the rotation. You want to use Seraphim anytime it's up. Don't wait to link it up with wings. It's not going to be linked up for the majority of the fight, which is okay. And then you should be able to get 2 Ashens on just about every fight because it's a 4-minute cooldown. Most fights are longer than that, so as long as it lasts for 4 minutes and 45 seconds, you should be getting full usage out of both of those Ashens, assuming that you're using them on cooldown. Couple other random notes. Again, I mentioned Blessing of Spell Warding. This is a very good reason to bring a Protection Paladin into a boss. A lot of mechanics are cheesable with this. Just since we're currently finishing off our last couple days of Season 3 right now, as I'm recording this with doing some Halandras prog, you can use Spell Warding, for example, to completely eliminate the damage from one of the beams that Halandras casts. So if it accidentally goes on the same target twice, you can Spell Warding either yourself or the other tank, and it prevents the death. So pretty cool. Another example from this past raid was Desenia, for example. You can use Spell Warding on the target that was targeted by the Staggering Barrage, and they wouldn't take any damage from that, and so you wouldn't actually need to soak at all. So, and there's tons of other uses. Those are just the 2 that immediately came to mind. But with all 3 raids opening up in Season 4, there's going to be a lot of uses for that. Finally, let's talk about Trinkets. So the other side is not going to be in the pool anymore, in the Mythic Plus pool, so Blood Spattered Scale is no longer going to be a thing. A lot of tanks weren't even using it for raid anyways, just because they were trying to maximize their damage. Some trinkets that we want to look out for. Old Warrior's Soul is incredible. So having that added back to the pool is going to be just incredible. Like people are still using that at 259 item level all through season 3. So the fact that we're going to be able to use it at full item level is going to be incredible. So that is a very big haste amp. Very nice. We can still use Solia's secret technique from Tazavesh Gambit, and so that's going to be a nice stat stick. You can use that to get whatever stat you're looking for, assuming that you have somebody that has that in the raid. Fate Scribe has Weave of Warped Fates. This is a very nice cheat death trinket. Guardian of the First Ones has Reactive Defense Matrix. This is a nice, it's actually quite a bit of damage that it adds, and a pretty nice defensive when it triggers. From the 9, we've got Shard of Analyhide. This is an incredible trinket. It's pretty much an immunity for any kind of dot because it absorbs all damage up to a certain threshold from any damage that you take. So as long as the dot is not ticking for more than its absorption amount, it's an immunity. So things like the Sylvanas, when you're picking up all the puddles and stuff like that, that's really good. Mythic Plus, when things are hitting you, all of the different mobs that are hitting you, as long as their damage is, it'll reduce their damage up to that threshold. So lots of little damage that's taken. This is pretty much an immunity against it. So very, very nice. Some other trinkets to look out for are, if we go to Castle Nathria, Sun King, Splintered Heart of Alar. Adding this back into the pool of tank trinkets is awesome. This is a cheat death. Stone Legion Heraldry. This is nice stat bonus for you and whoever else in your group is using it. There's probably others that I am forgetting. Sepulchre had crappy trinkets. None of them, or sorry, Sanctum had crappy trinkets for tanks. So nothing that really comes to mind. There's probably some from the new Mythic Plus dungeons that we're getting. I'm not as familiar with the ones from Legion and beyond because I wasn't tanking at the time and I didn't care. But I know that the rings from Mechagon are going to be really good. These if-then rings have extra effect. Those are going to be really sought after. The neck, I believe, the necks from Warlords of Draenor dungeons I believe they have primary stat on them, so that's going to be pretty sweet. So Grimrail, for example, this neck, it has int on it, or strength or whatever. So those, if they don't get changed, are going to be pretty sought after. That is the gist for Pally in raids. If there's something I'm forgetting, I'm sure there's things that I'm forgetting. Feel free to ask in the comments. I'd love to help out. I hope this was helpful for you. Have a wonderful time in Season 4 of Shadowlands.